Welcome to a special edition of Daily Airline News. We're going to focus on the breaking news that Armada 7806 is now headed to a location called offshore Australia, heading towards the ocean in Western Australia, probably, possibly, to start a search for MH370. Now, I'm joined today by Richard Godfrey, the UK aerospace engineer who has perfected and developed Whisper technology to track a new location of MH370 to approximately 1,563 kilometres west of Perth. There's been a lot happening in the last 24 hours. We'll get straight into it. And the first thing, of course, Richard, is Naren's comments on your website calling into question the Malaysian government's sincerity. And he used the words deceit and abuse of trust. Pretty damning stuff.
Yeah, they are indeed from one of the next of kin, quite a damning statement questioning the sincerity of the Malaysian government, who are quite obviously still sitting on their hands and not communicating openly with the next of kin of what is happening with the MH370 search, or perhaps better stated as what is not happening from the Malaysian point of view.
And Naren's, who lost his wife on MH370, Naren's comments come off the back of and are in response to the AIB email to the website Watson, who queried the search after our breaking news last week that, in fact, the Malaysians were sitting on that contract. And that response is pretty mediocre.
It's a terrible response in the email from the Lieutenant Colonel at the Accident Investigation Bureau, which is part of the Ministry of Transport and reports directly to the Minister himself, Anthony Loke. When you read that email, it just delaying tactics and excuses from the Malaysian authorities. And I found it interesting that the people copied on that email were the Minister of Transport's Customer Service Department and the Complaints Department. If MH370 has been relegated to the Complaints Department, then I think that's rather indicative of a very dismal response from the Malaysian authorities.
Look, it is indeed, and with Malaysia sitting on their hands, so to speak, on this issue, it would appear with 7806 now heading to the search area offshore Australia, it would appear that Ocean Infinity have also fed up with them and have decided to go search without a contract.
Indeed, important news that Armada 7806 is heading to the search area. It expects to arrive in 9 days' time in the search area, and I think it's taking a more southerly route to avoid a storm, Talia, which is still raging in the Indian Ocean. Hopefully, that storm will have died out by the time Ocean Infinity reaches that. But I think the key thing, as you mentioned, is that it becomes apparent that Ocean Infinity are going to search for MH370 without an agreement with Malaysia. Of course, it's still possible in the next 9 days, Malaysia signs at the last minute, and then it becomes an official search. But I think if there's no movement from Malaysia, then Ocean Infinity will be searching for MH370 and soon.
In fact, when I met Oliver Plunkett in London in 2022 during the Farnborough Air Show, I expressed a desire. I know it's not my money, it's their money. I expressed a desire that they would search without a contract because I fear that with a contract, Malaysia will control all the imagery, all the vision, everything coming out from that tragic location. And the investigation will become as transparent as the ocean depth of 4,000 meters, which is absolutely pitch black. And I fear that we will not learn the real cause of this terrible tragedy. I hope I'm wrong. But uh, as you suggest, 7806 is on a much more southerly course, and to avoid that cyclone, which is impacting Port Hedland in Western Australia at this very minute. But we've also got another ship, Armada 8601, which has gone dark. One wonders whether that is not also headed for the search area.
Yeah, Armada 8601 is the first ship of a new class. It's a bit larger than Armada 7806, um, which is 78 meters long, and 8601 is 86 meters long. So actually more suitable to the southern Indian Ocean, but of course both ships can well cope with stormy weather. The fact is that Ocean Infinity took delivery of Armada 8601 last December. It was fully certified in the beginning of January, following sea trials last year off the coast of Vietnam. And as you mentioned, on the 3rd of February, they switched off their AIS system, and we haven't seen any tracking of Armada 8601 for the last 10 days. It could quite easily, meanwhile, be in the search area as well.
Mm. Mm.
And it begs the open question whether Ocean Infinity had planned for quite a while to go to the search area now, even if there is no agreement with Malaysia.
I'm certain that come forced to the point, Malaysia will sign an agreement. That's what I actually personally fear that they will. Because personally, I would much rather Ocean Infinity does it itself and hands over the information to the International Civil Aviation Organization, the governing body of aviation, to take control of this search. Because I believe and I know that the relatives deserve total transparency for whatever events transpired to end the lives of 239 passengers almost 11 years ago.
I agree that it is now time for the ICAO to take control of this search directly. Malaysia did involve a number of experts from around the world, from the US and from the UK and France, uh, people like Inmarsat and Thales from the satellite tracking industry, people like Boeing, who manufactured the aircraft. They need to keep those official representatives from these various countries involved in the search. But I think it is time for the ICAO to uh, take direction of the search. And as you point out, any evidence that is found when MH370 wreckage is discovered should be under international control and thoroughly and properly analyzed by the appropriate authorities.
Indeed. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks coming up. as this ship makes its way to offshore Australia, which we are assuming, and can't think of any other reason why it would be going to offshore Australia, off the coast of Western Australia to the Seventh Arc to start a search in the areas identified by yourself and one or two other groups as well. Have had input to other areas, and their stated intention is to search, I think, 150,000 square kilometres if they need to find and to close the book on MH370. So,
Now,
Richard, thank you.
their objective was 15,000 square
Sorry.
kilometers,
Yeah,
and not 150. But if they've also stated they're going to carry on searching until they find the aircraft. And
yeah.
I think 15,000 is just an expectation. It's not a fixed limit.
Thank you for that correction, Richard. There's so many numbers floating around here, and this has got to be really great news for the relatives left behind and the friends left behind. Let's hope that this is exactly where this vessel is headed, because all that matters in all of this is that we find this aircraft and bring closure to those relatives. That's the thing that matters the most, and to find the reason for this terrible, terrible tragedy.
Indeed.
Yeah. So thank you for watching another edition of Daily Airline News, this special MH370 edition. Please subscribe to us, please like us, and please leave your comments, and love your feedback, and we do act on it. So thank you very much, and tune in tomorrow for another update. We're going to keep you right up to date with the MH370 search.